Eretria herself. All right, we're gonna talk about the show in a second, but first and foremost, I love starting this way. Just finding out how are you? How are you doing? How's it going?
I'm great. I mean, it's my second time in New York ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ever, and it's my first time as an adult. So
it's a little different than last time, I imagine. Not making the same stops.
No, I came with my parents the first time, but I'm really excited. I mean, I came in last night, and I'm so excited to kind of like really get to see New York and explore a little bit.
Sure. How long are you in town for?
Only for 3 days.
What a coincidence. Comic-Con happens to be happening over the next 3
I heard, right?
Something's going on.
I might swing by maybe tomorrow.
What are the odds? All right, well, so that's pretty exciting. Is this your first Comic-Con? No, you've done...
It's my first New York Comic-Con.
Okay, right.
We have, with Shannara, done San Diego and a couple of others, but it's my first time in the New York one.
What was that like over at San Diego? What was your first Comic-Con like? Did you walk in with any expectations?
It's so different when you go, I guess, as talent, because you're like backstage most of the time, so you don't really get to see what's going on.
Well, yeah, hang on, let's back up. Have you gone prior to as talent? Have you just gone as like a fan before?
I've never
I haven't. I'm gonna put that out.
No, I've been to because I'm a big fantasy fan. Like regardless of the show, I've always loved fantasy. And I have been to like comic kind of
like the smaller offshoot conventions and stuff.
So I've done a few of those. I've never been to one of these like massive conventions.
You start doing the smaller ones. That's more of a hardcore badge than the larger ones.
It is.
Everybody goes to the large ones. You start hitting those tiny cons. That means something.
Those are intense.
Those are the real ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry I cut you off. So you go. It's different. You're on the other side now. This is your first one. And were you surprised by the experience at all, seeing it from the other side of the fence?
Yeah, I mean, because obviously when you go to promote a show, you get to interact with all of the fans, which is so amazing. And especially Shannara, which is based off the books by Terry Brooks. You know, it's really special to really get to meet the people who love the show and are really passionate about the book and about the show.
Yeah.
And when you go, I guess, as like a normal person, you get to really live the experience and go to the different stands and, you know, buy the stuff you like. So, so they're both great ways of discovering the convention world.
Were you able to meet with any fans? Were there any like Eretria cosplayers that were? Am I saying that right? By the way, I think I am.
Yeah, Eretria.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Good.
So yeah, did you run into anybody that was?
In person, I've never met any Eretria cosplayer. I have, though, on like social media, which is really cool.
Very cool.
But I have, like, people have given me like elf stones, or I've seen people dressed as Will, so that's been really special.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Very exciting. Okay, so you're coming into your first New York Comic Con. You're very excited for that. That's awesome. Let's talk about this show, this incredible show, season 2. Congratulations. Very exciting. How long ago did you guys film the whole thing? It's already done?
Yeah, we filmed. It's 10 episodes, and it's quite intense. We shoot for 6 months in New Zealand.
Wow.
So yeah, we wrapped only like 3 months ago, and they've put it together real quick because, you know, there was quite a bit of a gap between season 1 and season 2. There was an intense wait. So you know, it's coming out on Wednesday next week, October the 11th.
We're so close.
Yeah. So yeah, they put it all together. We recently wrapped, but it was really cool.
6 months. Talk about that experience. You're out there for 6 months. You move your whole life out there, and you get all set up. You find your little places to go and do. But that's your life for 6 months.
It is, and it truly is your life because, you know, when you have to move out to somewhere like New Zealand, which is so far away, and you know you can't go back home.
Yeah.
In our case, obviously, because we're shooting like almost every single day, then you do have to have the mindset of, I'm leaving my life behind, and I'm going to focus on this project for the next half a year of my life. So that's pretty much it. You just leave it all behind, and you go for it.
It's so crazy. New Zealand, I'm terrible at geography, but it's one of those places that everything is about 40 hours away from it, as far as I can tell. Like, there's no way to get to or from there quickly.
No.
It's a long time to travel to and from. Did you, you're in New Zealand, did you take time, did you see the Hobbit set or anything like, or the Lord of the Rings set? Like, did you go check that out?
Of course.
You have to, right?
Yeah, and I do, especially. I'm such a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I've gone like 3 or 4 times to Hobbit, and it's actually not close to where we shoot, but like I've gone.
But you make the trip.
I make the trip. It's worth it. It's so amazing. And like the cool thing also about Shannara is that most of the crew are people who did work in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all of these projects.
Cool. That's really
so cool. I was like geeking out all the the time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do they know like cool places that like the tourists don't know to go to since they worked on the movie? And
Yes.
Like you gotta go this way, go behind this rock, turn this thing. Like.
Yeah, no, for real. Like this park, that's where they shot this, or that's where they shot this battle, or that stuff. So yeah, and I've gone like everywhere.
That's pretty cool.
It's worth it. Yeah.
Wow, you're doing a good job then. When you're out there for 6 months, you're working on this show, you're in this other part of the world, you are immersed in this place. Does the line between you and your character start to blur at some point? Do you start bringing things home? Do you start doing stuff?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Well, I mean, not in my favor in this case, because Eretria. I mean, in some ways, yeah. I mean, the character is such a badass. She's really cool, and I got to learn a lot of stuff that I have then taken into my life. Like, we did a lot of training, and I learned how to sword fight and dagger fight, and
I want to get into that part too.
But then also because we're shooting in the wild on location most of the time, and we have to have dirty and grubby hands because that's part of the character. And I just found myself eating food with my hands, which is something I would never do. I know it sounds, but I would never do it. And because I was starting to bring that side of me, that it was kind of just getting inside of me, Eritrea, and I was doing all of those things.
Is it like somebody's birthday on the crew, you just scooped up some cake?
Probably, I probably
like
did
an
that.
apple?
I threw it on their face. Yeah, but you do bring a little bit of that into your life.
It's got to be crazy to strike that balance. Talk about the what I imagine to be crazy training. Because I don't know that you walk. Maybe you did. Did you walk in an expert horse rider and swordswoman?
Well, the one thing I did know how to do was horseback ride.
Get that down, really?
Yeah, but I was so happy to get
kind of brush up.
Properly trained. Yeah, because it was really intense. We would train every single day nonstop. It was personal training, stunt training, horseback riding every day for a month before we started shooting.
Wow.
So yeah, they trained us, to box and to do all these things.
I saw a video, I think it might have been on your Instagram, where you were knife throwing. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I can actually do it for real. I'm proud of myself. No, really. You get basically, paid to learn all these amazing things that you would never learn otherwise.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty great. What would you say, was it the horse riding your favorite? Or what's if you had to pick one skill that you were I'm so happy I know this now. I'm surprised by how much I
don't know
this.
how much, I guess, throwing daggers helps my life.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be practical.
But,
just something that you were I like this a lot more than I thought I would.
Horseback riding. I did like it before, but I think because I liked it, just being able to do it and being able to be around horses, amazing, super smart horses every day was I wasn't even working. It just felt like I was in paradise.
How'd you get into it prior to the show? You said you had a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? What were you doing?
I've always loved horses. I love animals, and so back in Spain, I think I started when I was 8 years old. I started horseback riding. Yeah, as kind of an after-school activity. Yeah.
That sounds like a school show, an 8-year-old in Spain just riding horses, just living the dream.
I wish it was just that.
Pretty cool. All right, well, talk to us about season 2. I believe last time we saw you, it was the very end of season 1. There was a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Are we picking up right where that left off? Has some time passed? What's the story? What can you tell us?
Well, the show starts a year later.
Oh, okay, so it's a year later.
It's a year later, but we will find out what did go down that night.
Yeah. Oh, we better.
So we pick that up, and we will definitely, know who that
significance of
thing
that
is that reveals itself. But it happens a year later, and it's very interesting because this season is the gap between the second and the third book. So it fills in the gap of what would have happened, which I think is super creative and super interesting. I guess also for the fans who always wondered what happened, in the middle of that. So that's super cool.
Yeah, that was something I was reading that I thought was really interesting. Is they got with Terry's blessing, they're going off book in a way. They're filling in a space, and this is a whole new adventure. Has it felt different, or did it feel, since you're done? Did it feel different in season 2, working on a brand new adventure, versus season 1, where you had that book as reference? You don't have any reference for this except what you've kind of built for yourself.
I wouldn't say it felt differently. I guess because we were so familiar with our characters and kind of the essence of the show that it wasn't that different. And in my case, I do have to say that out of everyone, my character is perhaps the one that drifts most from the books. So in my case, I pretty much stuck to the scripts. but yeah, no, it didn't feel different. It just felt like we were kind of continuing the journey.
Very cool. Speaking of journeys, Eritrea kind of goes, there's a beautiful arc in that first season, right? And it almost feels like there's like a completion there.
Yes.
Where did you take her this year? Can you give us a little bit of what we can expect for your character this year?
And actually that was like a concern I had, because I'm like, wait, she's done the full arc. Like she's gone from being selfish to selfless. She's learned so much stuff. Yeah. But this season is actually more interesting because she's going to find out who she really is. Dun dun, drum roll. Dun dun dun. And like what that tattoo means on her back, where she really comes from, who her parents really are. So it's about like discovering who she really is, and it's that journey into the darkness, and that's all I can say. Okay, I won't press you any further. I'm running out of time here. I'm going to turn it over to the audience in just a second, but I would be crazy not having you here, not to ask you just a little bit about this little movie you did a little while ago called Pan's Labyrinth. Yes.
Round of applause, by the way.
Thank you.
For incredible work. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you were 11 at the time, right? Yeah, you were 11. That must have been horrifying to walk around with these amazing creations. I mean, Guillermo del Toro, like one of the most vivid and brilliant minds that we have making films with these amazing creations and monsters. Was it weird to did you ever, like, as an 11-year-old, see, like, the pale man having a cigarette break outside or something? Because I know once he got in that thing, he was in that suit. What was it like, basically?
I mean, it doesn't sound glamorous, but it was not scary for me. I started acting when I was so young. I was like 8 years old, and I started doing horror films.
When you were riding horses.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So that's where my life started.
Big year for you.
At 8. I was born when I was 8 years old. No, but so, I'd grown up already seeing basically parts of bodies and like blood all over sets. Yeah. So when I got to Pan's Labyrinth, and then Guillermo, I have to say, briefed me very well. Like he would send me like terror books and gore comics so that I could kind of, get into the mindset of the character Ophelia. So by the time I was on set, I kind of like had the whole picture, and it was more like amusing rather than scary, because just to see those creations, and I was really young, but I was able to really appreciate, all of that stuff. And it was such an amazing learning experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to imagine you learned quite a bit. That's an incredible experience to get that early on.
Yeah.
Did Guillermo, did he ever give you any, like you specifically, any advice, knowing like I have this amazing young actress here? Did he ever tell you anything or teach you anything? Or was it just working with him was the advice?
Well, I mean, it was like going to acting school, really. It was very intense. He did say to me one thing that stuck with me, and it's that there's a lot of traits that an actor should have, but the most important one is instinct, because that's something you can't learn. Like, that's something that has to kind of be in you already. Yeah. So, that really stuck with me. And he did say that I had some good instincts. So I
hope he followed it up with some encouragement.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you've got it.
Yeah. But he's one of the best directors I've ever worked with. And, putting myself in his hands, I knew something good was going to come out of it. So it was, I would say, the whole experience that was so, like, enlightening.
Very cool. Well, something good did come out of it. I mean, of course, there's the amazing performance, but I believe I saw you have not one but 2 Funko Pop figures of your characters, right?
Yeah.
You've got one from Pan's Labyrinth and one from the Shannara Chronicles.
I know,
it's pretty amazing.
Cool. It is.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Is that one of the things, like at Comic-Con, they always come by and they want you to sign all these things and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, it's the pictures, it's the fun,
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, you know what? It is that time. We're going to turn it over. We have some mics in the room. We're going to start right here in the front row.
Hi.
I just want to let you know, like, Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies. I just rewatched it the other night, actually. But you were saying that, like, fantasy is one of your favorite genres. That's obviously fantasy in this, and horror as well. So I was wondering what other types of roles, or if there's any other genres you're interested in pursuing in your career.
Well, now that I've gotten a taste of action in Shannara, even though it's fantasy, but there's a lot of action, I would love to play like a superhero or something like that, and especially because there's a lot of that kind of stuff coming out. So I love action, but I've never done comedy, for instance. So I would love to try comedy.
For sure, your character, I have to say, kicks ass on this show. Like, I think you'd make a good superhero. For sure. Thanks for that question. Next one is right here.
Hi.
Hi.
I know you mentioned you liked The Lord of the Rings, but what other fantasy books do you like?
Oh, wow. Okay, I love, obviously, The Hobbit, too. I don't know. I mean, I'm currently into video games a lot, so I'm really looking forward to Shadow of War.
Very cool.
Shout out. But I don't know. I mean, I love the movie Pathfinder. I love that movie. I know it's not like high fantasy, but Gladiator I really like too. Yeah, there's just anything that requires like sword fighting or medieval is something that I'm totally into. But there's just so many things to choose from.
Very cool. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
What are you playing on? What are you gaming on right now? Are you on a PC? Are you on a PlayStation? Are you on a Switch? What do you got going?
Well,
Xbox.
You're gonna kill me, but I just finished playing Shadow of Mordor, and that's why I wanted to play Shadow of War.
Shadow
so I'm
of War,
kind of
for
like
sure.
waiting on that one.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We've got one more question for you right here in the front row.
Hi. I was just curious though, what episodes do you want us to like focus on while we watch this?
So is there one in the next season that you're really excited about?
Is there a specific episode we should focus on in this that's kind of your favorite?
Good question. Well, I guess for me, the stakes get higher as the season goes on, and it starts off pretty, full on. This season, there's a lot more action. There's a lot more special effects. We shoot on location a lot, so there's a lot of, amazing visuals and great photography. But I think as the season progresses, the stakes get higher. So I would say, like, maybe if my mind doesn't, I would say from the 5th episode onwards, it gets pretty hardcore, especially for Eritrea, and you'll see why.
The scale of the season looks to be incredible. Like, they really upped it. The sets are huge.
Yeah.
The effects, the action, everything just looks like it's cranked to 11. It's going to be a really fun ride. That's the perception I get from the trailers, at least.
And it is. It's like ×2 of season 1. I think
amazing.
Everything that really worked in season 1, they've put a lot of effort in for the second season. There's more storylines, more action, all the special effects. There's more about all the magical world. In the apocalyptic world at the same time. So, yeah, I think they cranked it up a notch, which is awesome.
For sure. Very exciting. Well, the wait is almost over. The 11th, which is, what is that, next Wednesday, right? Thank you. Yeah, next Wednesday on Spike. The Shannara Chronicles returns, season 2. It's almost here. Everybody, please join me one more time. Ivana Baquero for being here.
Thank you.
My God. So awesome. Thank you.